You know, have you ever woken up from a dream and thought, what on earth was that all about? How do we take that chaotic, kind of confusing language of our dreams and turn it into a real, clear roadmap for our own growth? What if every weird image, every strange scenario, was actually a chapter in a much bigger story, a story about who we're becoming?
And that line right there, well, that's our doorway in. We're about to follow one person's incredible week-long journey through their own dreamscape. It's this profound story of self-discovery where the very fabric of their identity gets rewoven night after night. Now, to make sense of all this, we're going to use a framework called the Dream Alchemist. Think of it as a special lens. It helps us take all these raw, seemingly random dream entries and see them for what they really are, a story unfolding in sequence. It's how we decode the soul's journey from one way of being to the next.
At the very heart of this journey is this central conflict, this internal battle between two identities. On one side, you have the Toiler, the part of us that operates through force, hustle, and control. And on the other side, the Alchemist, the part that works from a place of alignment, surrender, and, actual joy. So, let's watch how this struggle plays out across one really pivotal week.
The whole story unfolds over 6 key dreams. Each one is a stepping stone on a path leading to a huge revelation that, well, it changes everything. Okay, let's dive into the first one.
We start off deep in the world of the Toiler, and this is a state of being that's all about complexity and over-responsibility, that feeling of being caught in these huge systems where you just can't see the end. So the first 3 dreams give us the key symbols of this world. You've got the warehouse maze, that's the complex, layered mind. Then there's the unknown home, which points to an identity that's in transition, not quite feeling settled. And then the crowded train, that's the struggle of trying to fit your own personal rhythm, which is symbolized by the bicycle, into the crushing demands of everyone else. Altogether, these symbols paint this vivid picture of someone who is way too identified with their roles as a driver, a helper, a fixer.
But then, just when you think you see the pattern, the story takes a sharp turn. The dreamer is no longer trying to control everything. Instead, they're suddenly faced with a series of trials that are all about one thing: letting go.
It all kicks off here, in this dream of being a passenger. See, in their waking life, the dreamer had asked for help in shedding their ego. And the universe answers by putting them in a car, being driven along some super inefficient route. They're forced to just watch, not control. This is the first real test of surrender.
Now, during this dream, some kind of disturbance breaks out and someone offers the dreamer a drink, a symbol of grace. The dreamer politely says, "Thank you," but the messenger gets offended. And the lesson here is so powerful. Grace isn't something you just politely acknowledge. It has to be fully received, a total full-body surrender. You have to drink it like your soul depends on it.
And the tests keep coming. The next dream is about a sacred prison. Now, I know what that sounds like, but this isn't a place of punishment. It's more like a monastery, a voluntary, sacred space designed for disciplined inner work, for the sole purpose of dissolving that old, controlling ego.
And inside this sacred space, the core alchemical shift just becomes crystal clear. The dreamer's job is to hand out bread, the symbol of duty, of sustenance, the hard work of the toiler. But then a child shows up, and they start talking about wanting honey, the symbol of joy, divine sweetness, the true calling of the alchemist. The whole journey is shifting beyond just providing and toward discovering real delight.
Okay, so this brings us to the climax of the whole week. After navigating labyrinths and passing all these tests of surrender, the most profound guidance finally arrives. But not in the way you'd think.
The dreamer has what's called a dreamless dream. There are no images, no story, just a direct transmission, a download of pure knowing. And this is actually a really advanced spiritual teaching. The absence of form means the truth is too big for symbols. It's training the dreamer to find clarity in absolute stillness.
So after all of this, the mazes, the crowded trains, the tests of ego, the journey from bread to honey, what was the final answer? What was the ultimate message that came through in the very last dream of the week?
This. Just this. The message was delivered in a dream by a humble, wise former manager, a figure of real practical wisdom. He just looks at the dreamer and says it, plain and simple. You are using the wrong tools. And this is the whole point. The problem was never a lack of effort. The entire approach was flawed from the very beginning.
And not one revelation just blows everything wide open. bringing us to the final act. If the old tools are wrong, then what are the new ones? This is all about forging entirely new instruments of power.
You see, the old tools of the Toiler, the force, the control, the rigid logic, those were the very things creating the mazes and the exhaustion in the first place. The new tools of the alchemist, well, they represent a fundamental shift. It's about moving from pushing things forward to drawing them in with magnetic energy, from planning every last detail to surrendering to an inspired vision, and from the isolation of doing it all yourself to the incredible power of co-creating with something bigger. It's a completely different way of operating.
So this entire week of dreams, when you boil it all down, it documents this massive identity shift in 3 clear steps. It's a journey from being the driver to becoming the witness, from being the fixer of everyone else's problems to being the alchemist of your own energy, and from relying on rigid logic to trusting in the quiet power of pure presence.
And that's the big aha moment, isn't it? The entire purpose of this whole journey wasn't to finally solve the warehouse maze or figure out the train schedule. It was to have the profound realization that the maze itself was built by the very tools being used to try and escape it.
And so the final question isn't just for the dreamer, it's for all of us, really. Now that you know you might be using the wrong tools, will you have the courage to put them all down and reach for the glowing, unknown instruments of the alchemist?